Check, check. All right, we are just hanging out, doing some work. If anyone has, we're doing a live call-in show. So if anyone has anything, they can call in right now. We're just kind of hanging out. We'll see if there is anyone. This is different than doing a live on TikTok for sure. I forgot how lives on YouTube are. Greg, how's it going? We got Greg here. Howdy. Good to see you, Greg. Let's see. We got, that's the UFO guy. I can't remember who that's that one dude. I'm not good with UFO guys. Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, well, good evening as well, friend. We're doing a live call-in show. We haven't done one of these in a while, but been doing a lot of lives on TikTok, but I figured I'd do a live on YouTube. If you've got any Bigfoot encounters you would like to share, you can call in. I've got the phone number set up. If you go to if you go into the description, there is there's a link there to fill out. It's pretty much a guest release form because if you call in, it's going to be recorded and it'll be used for the podcast. So it's all there. And then after you do that, you'll get the phone number to call in, unless you already have it and you've already filled out a guest release form, which you're welcome to call in as well. Let's see. We got a lot of people hanging out here. We got Nora. Hey, Nora from Michigan. We got friend Mark Paul. Good to see you. Actually, Mark, I need to talk to you. We need to set that up again. The first time our follow-up didn't work out, but we still need to chat sometime. What the Bob? Cheers from Wisconsin. Good to see you. Abe Lincoln. Yo, what up? Good to see you, Abe. Glad everything is well. So we are just kind of chilling out. We got 20 people hanging out. Good to see you all. We've got it's a Thursday night. You can hit the description, and there's a link in there to fill out a guest release form. If you've got a Bigfoot encounter, you can call on in. It's a pretty cool setup because then people can ask you questions because it'll be live. It'll also be recorded as well. Let's see. Mark, yes, you do. I'm ready and willing to go to the moon. Hey, all right. You got it, man. Good stuff. Abe, I got the same chair as me. Hey, yeah, it's a great chair, right? Is it GT Racing? Good stuff. Let's see. We got Hollis. Good to see you, Hollis. Actually, I'm going to have the phone up here. It's so cool in StreamYard. I can ban users and delete their comments so quick. It's like StreamYard, guys, is such a great platform now. So yeah, if you start messing around in the comments, I can just ban you and delete your comments with one single fell swoop. It's amazing. Great platform, StreamYard is. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I was sick, then you were sick. Say when, brother. When you're ready, say so. Well, hey. Yeah, absolutely. Rita, good to see ya. Rita is, well, sorry, man. You're out of there. Yeah. Rita, good to see you. Marvin, hello. Good to see you. Kirk, hi from Ontario. Kirk, I just talked to a individual from Ontario the other night, a few nights ago. Had some interesting encounters. Mark, you've got some really interesting things going around your property there. The photos you were sending, yeah, I'm not sure, especially the ones with the claw marks on the ground that you sent today. It's very interesting stuff. Guys, we're doing a live call-in show. If you would like to call in, you're more than welcome. The link for the guest release is in the description of this. And then once you fill out the guest release, you'll have the phone number to call in. And then we can talk live on the air. So we're just having a good time, kind of hanging out live, and we're just talking with the comments. Got a lot of people in the comments. Some people are being silly. We're banning them, deleting the comments. Good stuff. But yeah, all right, Rita, I might contact you next week. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been, right now I'm having dinner and not feeling too well. Yeah. Rita, health is number one. But yeah, I would love to talk to you. I know that we've been trying to set that up for a while. So yeah, whenever you're good, reach out. You know how to. Ayo, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Latest on Bigfoot sightings. So guys, and actually, let me put this up. This is the phone number to call. Just make sure you fill out the guest release. So guys, I'm also on TikTok as well, and been doing a lot of videos, getting a lot of information from the Lake Texoma area, which is North Texas and South Oklahoma. There's a huge man-made lake there, and there's a lot of really interesting sightings. I had a gentleman that I talked to, Steve's Adventures, on YouTube, and about a camp out hunting trip he did in South Oklahoma in the Lake Texoma area, in the Fob Bottoms area, and they just had a really interesting Bigfoot sighting in an area that is, I'm finding out, is known for sightings. That area of southern Oklahoma, northern Texas is wild. So keep an eye out for Lake Texoma. There's a lot of interesting things going on in that area. Not even Bigfoot, also pale crawlers. There's some water things being seen. All right. So that's a little update about some Bigfoot sightings I've heard there. Matt's too. Hey, Jeremiah. Hello, all. Rita, I will if you aren't too busy. We'll make it work, Rita. Here we go. All right. I don't think that's, yeah, you're out, bud. Let's see. Neanderthals is what I think they are. Well, that's, some people do. Some people think they're great apes that are undiscovered. Some people think they're like alternate universe creatures. The thing is, we don't know yet because we haven't captured a specimen. So, but Mark, you make a great point, which is none of them look the same. We're doing a live call-in show tonight. If you've got a live or a Bigfoot encounter from your past that you would like to share, or if something is happening right now, you can call in 515-809-0165. Make sure you fill out the guest release form in the description, as this is recorded for use for the podcast. We're just kind of all hanging out here. Hike with Mike, good to see you. Hey, folks, we got a lot of people hanging out right now, about 43 people in the chat. We're having a good time. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, and make sure you're following Bigfoot Society on all of the different platforms. We got Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. new episodes all the time. You can see those new episodes on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. And on Wednesdays, I'll be releasing members only episodes that if you're part of the Patreon or you're a YouTube channel member in the Bigfoot Posse tier, you'll be able to hear some really special members only episodes. The one we released this last Wednesday was a chat with a young lady named Marley from North Texas, who's been seeing some really weird things, Dogman, UFO sightings, things like that. My next one coming up, I believe, is with Steve, the young gentleman I was talking to about earlier, who had the Bigfoot sighting in South Oklahoma on Lake Texoma. So some really good stuff coming up. Let's see. Memphis Song is here. Good to see ya. Hollis, both some human-like looks and some more animalistic-looking type. Hey, that's true. Matt's too wondering how and if the fires out in Texas will affect sightings out that way. Thoughts and prayers, definitely. That's a good point. I'm sure that there's going to be some interesting sightings, maybe even the Bigfoot trying to run away for sure. Kirk Murray, cool. How do I find these stories in Ontario? Well, mine is coming out in a few weeks. I do know there's an organization called Sasquatch University, and I think they're from Ontario. They have some interesting encounters, so you want to make sure you start looking into their stuff as well. Marlene Woodrum, East Tennessee, hey y'all. Marlene, I'm sure you've heard some encounters in your area, or you have probably experienced some stuff yourself. East Tennessee is where it's at. Let's see, Mark, the little coming close, the big ones stayed back some. The ones here, Jeremiah, seem to like warmer weather because they act up a lot when the weather is warmer, they're very quiet, though. Let's see, Hollis, McKinney, Texas. Oh, okay, unless you start making noise first. Let's see. Ayo, Jeremiah, I want to tell you that I never knew how to describe my Bigfoot to you, and when I saw the statue recently in the China National Forest, I started crying because it was her. Wow. That's wild. Ayo, your story is just incredible. Mark, Bigfoots do fear us, though, as much as we fear them. Very interesting. Bobby, you should have my buddy Fred from Alaska back on. I know. It's we almost had it happen, and then there was a thing that came up. Yeah. Fred is the man, for sure. Guys, we're just kind of hanging out in the comments tonight. If you've got a Bigfoot encounter you would like to share live, you can go ahead and call the number right there. Make sure you fill out the guest release form, please, so that it can be used for the podcast. Mark Paul, yeah, the claw marks scared me some. I'd be scared too, dude. Those claw marks were pretty long. Pretty wild stuff. Let's see. Hamburglers here, guys. Good to see the Hamburglar. That brings me back. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you, Hamburglar. Rita, I love Fred's channel. Also, yeah, if make sure you're subscribed to Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch. I think the name that's pretty much the name. You'll find it if you type that in. It's Fred Roll. Has an amazing Alaskan Bigfoot encounter channel. It's great. Highly recommend it. Let's see. We're just kind of chilling out. If you don't know what Bigfoot Society is and you just kind of stumbled upon this, I interview people a few times a week, and I have a podcast where I share their Bigfoot interaction stories. And you can find the podcast on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. Just search for Bigfoot Society. So make sure that you are subscribed. Let's see. Oh, why did... Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to call this guy back. Oh, my goodness. Okay, sorry, guys. I am... let me see if I can call this guy back here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is really riveting. I'm trying to call back. 5817. All right. We're trying to call back again. Ayo, thank you for becoming a member.
You bet.
Hi, is this Greg?
Yeah, speaking.
Hey, this is Jeremiah. Sorry I missed your call. Had some tech issues there, but
sure.
Yeah, just to make sure we're on the same page. So right now this is live on YouTube, as you probably know, and this is recorded for use on the podcast. If you weren't able to yet, there is a guest release form in order for us to chat. If you'd be able to fill that out.
Yeah, no, I filled it out.
Oh,
yeah,
you did?
I filled it out.
Great. Well, Greg, thanks for picking up. I would love to hear what you've encountered.
Well, way back, I guess it's about circa 1973, summer thereof. I was in a tent with my two cousins and older brother. I was about 9. I think my baby cousin was about 6. And the two older boys were 12 and 13, respectively. And we were camping on my aunt's farm. She had a farm in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And that's home of the actor Jimmy Stewart. And the reason I bring up his name, if you get into Bigfoot lore, he's been well known in the past to have a fascination, a lifelong one with Bigfoot, because in that same area where I had my experience, and not that I knew it at the time, when he was a small boy, he used to go on hunting trips and listen to hunters describe their experiences with Bigfoot in that area. And again, it's part of the Chestnut Ridge kind of range of mountains that extend from there all the way down through Tennessee, Smoky Mountains and all that. But it begins at that point. And there's been a lot of sightings apparently there over, many decades, starting, even before Jimmy Stewart's time. But I was aware vaguely of like Planet of the Apes. I was about 9 years of age. I knew what a gorilla was from the zoo. But I never thought of one, being out in that area. So we're camping one night and we're in a field about a couple hundred yards up the hill from my aunt's farm. The only thing up there was like deer and I guess occasional bear, but we were not aware. And so the tall grass, I guess about 3-4 feet tall in the field, we were kind of parked our tent in front of it that night, and my father helped us set it up. And about 30 feet behind the tall grass was a thicket of woods. It was so thick, Jeremiah, you couldn't, really push through it as a person. A lot of thorn bushes and so forth. It's very dense foliage or brush. And that's kind of important to the story because the next morning, about 25 minutes before the sun came up, I heard a rustling through that tall grass and something coming through that like tree line of heavy brush. And I got kind of scared thinking who would be attempting to come through like that. And next thing I know, at the top of our tent, it had like kind of a zipper thing, like a mesh thing that I guess was a little bit unzipped on that side. I see this giant hairy arm reaching in, very thick, dark, flat, black matted hair, and just a huge hand. And I just said to myself, looking up, in my sleeping bag, that's the large hairy arm of a gorilla. what's a gorilla doing out of the zoo? Now, this is about 60 miles, I guess, east of Pittsburgh, kind of a thing. So that's the nearest zoo there would have been. But my baby cousin, I heard him gasp. He was about 6, and all of a sudden his hand pulls back, or the hand of the ape pulls back once that gasp came out. And I guess it scared it off. But the thing, we heard it rustling, behind us in the tall grass, and went back through that thicket of woods. We tried to wake up our brothers, and putting our hands over their mouths and saying, shh, something's out there. My brother's like, oh, it's probably just a bear. And I'm thinking like, yeah, just a bear. Even at that age, I knew bear is a pretty dangerous thing. But I said, well, look, bears don't have hands. So another 20, 30 minutes, the sun came up, and we kind of poked our heads out of the tent and looked around, nothing about. But when we did get out, and in the daylight, you might say, we saw a wide, 4-foot wide path going in that tall grass, 3-4 foot tall grass, meandering back to that thicket. And none of us had ever walked in that grass. We were too afraid of snakes, deer, ticks, things like that, rats, whatever. And something had pushed that heavy brush aside. And I remember my brother got a real nervous look, my 13-year-old brother, and he said, I guess whatever it was pretty big, And then we all started running down that hill, tell my parents, my aunt, my uncle down there what we saw. Nobody believed us, the 6-year-old and the 9-year-old, and the older boys couldn't vouch because they weren't quite awake when it happened. Some weeks later, I can't recall exactly when, but within that time frame of that summer, there was an elderly couple. It was reported in the local news that were walking, I guess, their dog through woods nearby, and their dog got chased off by some large ape-like, animal is what they described to the police. Police went out thinking, it's just, kind of a call, went out on a lark kind of a call, not expecting to find anything, but they did. And they found some big footprints. And so an anthropologist from a local college was called in, made a cast, and held it up on the local 6 o'clock news kind of thing at the end of the broadcast, and said this could be the possible footprint of a Sasquatch, or which otherwise is called a Bigfoot. And I'll never forget my mother, Jeremiah, her jaw just dropped. She was speechless. She never believed me until that point. And then my father just turned and looked at my brother and I and said, you boys are never going camping in those woods again. That's my story.
Greg, that's incredible. Can I ask you a few questions about this?
You bet.
Okay. Was this the area you were camping? Was this owned by your family, or this like public?
No, it's my aunt's place. It was owned by my aunt. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
She lived about 2 miles off a very small road, and she lived at the end of a dirt road. Basically, she had a little farm at the end, and there was like a kind of a lake or pond that was stocked with fish, and lots of deer there. So that would be a possible habitat, for a creature like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Did you hear anything weird during the night? Any knocks or calls or anything weird like that?
No, but it's odd that because earlier in the summer when we were there, we'd spend our summers up there periodically, like a week here and maybe a week there, go up 2 or 3 times, when school was not in session. We were out one time, my brother and I, with a local boy and girl, maybe a few miles down the road. And we ran some trails there. My aunt had a lot of acreage and heavy woods. And there was one trail that went down to a stream where we would fish sometimes. And this is not too far away from Punxsutawney, where Groundhog is, in that general area. And the point is that we came back from fishing one time, and the older 2 brothers, her brother and my brother, kind of took off down the trail ahead of us. So the younger girl and I were about 8, 9 years old at that point. We're coming back up the trail, probably a mile long. And we thought that, and again, this is before the tent, what happened in the tent. We thought that there was somebody kind of following us, but it was like to our left, as I recall, like, through the trees, maybe, 50, 60 feet or more. We kept thinking like every time we'd stop, something we would hear, it would stop. And then we would go, and then it would go, and then we'd try to stop. And we started playing a game with it, the girl and I, and we would like run 10 feet and stop and then see if we can catch it. Sure enough, like you'd hear an extra footstep, like the thing got caught off guard. And when we looked, it was, heavy pines everywhere. We could kind of make out a form hiding behind a tree. We thought it might have been one of the local Amish kids playing with us. But the Amish weren't really allowed, to be on other people's property without permission. So we found that odd. And so we told my aunt, and my aunt said, well, I'll have to call local families and say their boys are, on my property, kind of a thing, without permission. But, looking back on it now and hearing about how Bigfoot's parallel and all that, I'm thinking it might have been a Bigfoot instead.
Oh, absolutely. Did you ever do any research into the area as an adult to see if there had been other sightings since your sighting in that area?
Yeah, about 5, 6 years ago, I got back into Bigfoot, you might say, and I got into the New Jersey chapter of, can I say that special organization?
Oh, I don't care what you say. People can.
Okay,
I
no
don't have.
profanity, don't worry.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to plug, but I became
Yeah, I
friends
got you.
with the BFRO guys in New
Yep.
Jersey, and it was because, oddly enough, another tangential story would be one of the students I mentored through he was an autistic boy, and through a program we had, I would have to drive him back. And he started telling me that he was afraid to go into the backyard of this wooded group home they had, and so were his staff, and they confirmed it to me. And I wasn't thinking Bigfoot, but they started telling me things that sounded a little bit odd, and I started doing some research in the area. And apparently they had sightings in that area, neighbors, including reputable people. And I found out some of these stories were related to a friend of mine now who works with the BFRO chapter out there. And so he convinced me to go back in turn and, do research through their website on the area where I was. And the area where I was, it's not too far from the Ohio border. And of course, I guess you've heard of the Ohio grassman.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a feeling, it's kind of the same critter, you might say, or cryptid. And there's definitely a lot of sightings between that border area going obviously into Ohio and coming into the Indiana, Pennsylvania area that would be known as, again, the top of the Chestnut Ridge, ridge line of mountains that on a map, it starts there and it extends all the way down to the Great Smoky Mountains. But that would be the northern tip of it, at least, heading in Pennsylvania there. And yes, there's been a lot of sightings. Like I said, the actor Jimmy Stewart as a kid was quite fascinated by all the stories he'd heard. Now, locally at that time, I also can recall as a child my aunt saying that her neighbors who had, like cattle and chickens would notice, I can't recall the cattle, but the chicken, hens or chicken cages, I should say, kept getting broken into. And they never found, people responsible for it. But they figured somebody had to have a lot of strength to like rip open the cages. And then I found out years later from my aunt that she said, some of the farmers up there had admitted seeing big footprints in the area. And so she no longer doubted my story either, So I didn't get to meet any of these people. I knew a couple of the farms in the area. I don't want to mention names because a couple are still there, but their descendants or families. But those farms that had some of these experiences where pigs or livestock or even chickens have gone missing.
That is wild. Greg, it sounds like you are. I mean, you said you were involved with the BFRO, right?
Lightly, yeah. I mean,
Lightly,
the
okay.
only reason, I got involved was because of this kid. I mean, in my back of my mind, I
Right.
mean, all these decades went by, and yeah, just accept this. It has probably some big hairy ape like animal in the woods. But when this young kid was telling me, 20-year-old, I guess, slightly, very mildly autistic, so you could have a pretty good conversation with him. And what he was describing, these loud screeches and howls and grunts. And then I talked to the staff because staff admitted to me, they live at the group home too, watching over these boys. And they usually put autistic kids, at least New Jersey and PA, they put them in group homes out in woods. So they're safer, they're not in a
Sure.
city environment. Bad things could happen. So they're kind of secluded. But what got me is not only the descriptions that he gave me, and there's a lot of water and streams, in his neighborhood, but he lives actually in a pretty somewhat affluent area, that group home. The rest of the houses are affluent, and just 1 mile down the road, and maybe a few months before he had told me his story, there was a woman who had called the police, and she had filled out a report, and the BFRO, listed the whole report. And my friend who, took that report for the BFRO, had told me that, and I got to know him because I had researched, Bigfoot in that area, and I found out, there was a report of a woman, reporting to the police, and she, lived in a nice house, let's say. One of the staff members knew who it was. Said, "Oh yeah, I had heard about that too, like the year before, months before." And it occurred to me that a woman of means, she had pulled in that night with her daughter coming back from, like some kind of a grade school play or something. And I guess her husband was out of town, but she pulled into her driveway. And again, this is a rural setting, but saw a large 7.5 foot or so hairy ape-like animal in her carport. And, her daughter started screaming and so forth, and she could see it in the headlights and put it in reverse and got the heck out of there and immediately filled out a police report, went straight to the police, as a matter of fact. And police came out. They didn't find anything, but it sure shook her up. And, a woman like that in that kind of neighborhood, affluent neighborhood, they're not going to make up a phony baloney story like that. And I don't think the staff at the group home would either. So that got me back into remembering my childhood experiences more fully and, doing some research on my own.
That whole area with the group home and then this lady experiencing something, that feels like that's just something that could really be investigated. Over the years, it sounds like you've heard a lot of different stories. Have you ever heard any where there was any aggressive interactions or any that were, kind of like habituating a certain area or?
Well, certain two parts. I guess Chewbacca from Star Wars. If you piss off a Wookiee real bad, it'll rip off your arms and legs. But it's funny, that they put that in the movie because George Lucas, the legend of Boggy Creek or whatever, I guess the movie movie early 70s. The guy who helped produce that later, it was a small time movie, of course, but he later, a year or so later, befriended George Lucas, and George Lucas was still up and coming, and he got a job working with Lucas on the first Star Wars, and he told Lucas about his going down to report on these stories and get the information to do the movie. And Lucas loved the idea and said, "Oh, that's something really cool. I mean, the kids will probably love it." So, that's where Chewbacca was born, out of that Legend of Boggy Creek, you might say.
That's fantastic. I'd never heard that connection. That's wild, Greg.
But the thing is, there are long time reports going back to what Port Luck, I believe it is, Alaska.
Port Luck, Alaska. Yep.
Yeah, about people finding limbs and so forth of hunters who were, part of the logging crew up out there, or the mining crew, whatever it was. And it eventually scared them off. And I don't know if it was economics involved as well, but, they ended up closing down that whole area for logging and stuff, or that whole port, I should say. But, I think that aided, the reputation of, could these things be violent, possibly, under the right circumstances. Now, the areas where this kid, the other part of that answer your question, Jeremy, is that the kid in the group home and the woman, that's right in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Okay, because I've moved from PA to New Jersey where I live now. And the New Jersey Pine Barrens have, I guess everybody knows, and they named a hockey team after it, the New Jersey Devils, right? And the thing is that the guys I'm familiar with are part of the BFRO chapter from New Jersey Pine area. And we have active investigations going on. I'm not a full-fledged member. I may become one in the future if I have the time, but my buddies there do a lot of research. One of them lives right by the Pines. He has a business out there as well. So oftentimes after work, he'll go out there, and sometimes with his wife and kids. And he's had experiences, and he knows some of the top researchers in the country, and he's putting on a couple shows soon with some of them. And I'm not going to get into mentioning names or anything, but we feel now in the New Jersey Pines, and I've had a couple loose experiences there with him, myself, tree knocks and so forth, finding some footprints. We're making casts now, and we have a guy in North Carolina, a geneticist, who's, the thing in Bigfoot now, you can do DNA samples from water, like with a lot of animals.
Exactly.
So, we're involved in doing that. Like I said, I'm not official yet, but if I spend more time with them, I might become so.
Greg, are you relatively close to the Vineland area?
Well, yes and no. I go through there at times, but my actual residency, in New Jersey right now, I've had to move to North Jersey for business.
Okay.
So I'm actually northern tip of Jersey outside of New York City.
Gotcha. If you ever are down by the Pine Barrens area, I don't know if you've heard the interviews I've done with a gentleman named Swamp Dog from the Vineland, South Jersey area, but there's some really interesting...
My friends are his friends.
Okay, really?
Okay.
So there's some really interesting Bigfoot activity going on south of the Pine Barrens in that peninsula. You would never know. So just curious if you had any interaction with that. So that's cool, though.
I haven't personally, but I know of what you speak and the guy you're talking about, and I have definitely heard some interesting stories. Now I'm down in the Pines I come down about every 6 weeks or so. So, we'll make a trip down there. I'll get my buddies who go out all the time, and they go there, so maybe I can get them to call you, a couple of them have their own podcast too,
Very cool. Yeah, I'd love to have them reach out. You could email me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. But Greg, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Please stay in touch. Sounds like you are probably going to have some interesting things come across your plate in the future as well. But I can already see I've got a few more calls that have come in, but it's been a pleasure chatting with you, my friend.
Oh, you too, and good luck. And we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Have a good night, sir.
Ciao.
Ooh, what a great first call. Let me check the old Google Voice here. Let's see if we had anything else come in. Let's see. Oh yeah, we had a few more. Let's see what we got here. All right. I know this is the boring part. Sorry, guys. Gotta get the number. All right, here we go.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hi, this is Jeremiah. Who is this?
This is Nora.
Oh, hey, Nora. Yeah, thank you for calling. And real quick, were you able to fill out the guest release form?
I was.
Awesome. Perfect. And I didn't see a transcription of your voice message, so I'm just going to say go ahead and feel free to share what you have to share, and I might have a few questions at the end. Thank you for calling.
Okay, great. Oh, wow. What do I have to share? It's way too much for the time you have.
All right.
Seriously. No, I actually was directed to you, Jeremiah, through contacts when I did an interview with Miguel Ramirez from Sasquatch Theory.
Oh, yeah. Miguel's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a brother, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, in that I'm hoping will be a multi-part in itself, because it is a lifetime for me. Literally, I'm 61 years old, recently retired, thank goodness, so I have more time to get out there and do the research I do. I really am a lifetime researcher because of experiences going back into childhood in Michigan. And then I was very blessed to be born to parents that, my mother was a teacher. She was a writer. We traveled the entire United States, back roads, wilderness, learning of wildlife, and just the whole thing. We were raised what people might call off-grid or whatever, but we were holistic. Even though my parents did, they had professions and all that, and as well as us kids, we still lived that life of the wilderness, the woods, being close to consuming what you produce, hunting, fishing, so all that, all over the United States. In fact, my family is spread out: Montana, Oregon, Washington, all the places, of all these great Bigfoot stories. And I recently came back to Michigan, connected some childhood memories along with relatives, cousins, and this and that in the mid-Michigan and northern lower Michigan area of so many encounters. Some of them are well known. They're kind of published legends, things like that. And I came back for physical healing after some injuries and this and that, and started hiking and getting back into the way it was for me when I grew up here. We always lived way out in the country, not farmers per se, but semi. We were sustenance, so we had our own fields, our own animal, like that. Us kids would take off for the day and even days off into the forest, our own forest, the neighbor's forest, wherever. Snowmobile across the countryside, and that's how it was back then in the late 60s and 70s. And so many encounters and so many legends, but they were so natural to my family, as well as the upbringing we had in the mid-Michigan area with the Ojibwe and the Chippewa nations where I lived. There was so much talk of it, it wasn't new to me. When I came back and I was recuperating and getting back out hiking and getting back in, I went exploring all the places I knew as a childhood. And then here is all this YouTube channels and people coming out with the things that I only really spoke of in groups or the knowers, the ones that I saw these things with or grew up with. And I was so fascinated with the fact that, wow, this is great. This is everybody, not just us in this little area in Michigan. And so I've had years, 30 years being back here in Michigan, working really hard in my job, but I'm retired now, thank goodness, and using my spare time to go and follow these pulls that I've had. And then we go into other conversations like I did with Miguel in great length, offline and somewhat online, of these pulls I get to areas. And if anyone watches the December, I don't remember quite when it aired, it just released with him, my Michigan, some of my experiences. It started snowballing as I was talking to him, because there were the memories and the stories and the legends and the encounters as a child growing up and hunting and foraging all over Michigan. It being a natural part of our life because of like Native American lores. We went to powwows that were not like the tourist ones. They were true meetings of various clans in the areas of the countryside I grew up in. So that was all natural to me. Then coming back out about it now publicly and everything, it almost seems like I'm trying to convince people of legends are true and all that, but there's too many. There's too many of us. You, all the people that call in, all the people listening all have had their encounters, their experiences. So now it's just us getting together as groups. And then, I almost want to break it down and categorize it. We have Sasquatch and other cryptids in Michigan. I hate mentioning Dogman. I talk about that in Miguel's. I don't want to bring forward, anything around me that's dark or anything like that. But we have to know that this is everywhere, not just out in the Pacific Northwest, or Texas or wherever. It's everywhere are more than what we think there are, what we were raised to think there is. Most people. I, on the other hand, was raised to know that there is all of this. So to me, it isn't a surprise. So I've come out now and I want to join societies and get involved in this research. And I've documented, videotaped, I write and I write and I write and I write. I have volumes of things I've written. I have friends and acquaintances, very select because of the belief set of keeping things pure and not contaminated when we're looking beyond our molded belief sets. I can get so deep, and that's what I was saying. We could break this down and index it, like let's talk about UFOs, let's talk about orbs, let's talk about lights in the forest, let's talk about Sasquatch, it's all there. And honestly, I've had a lifetime of it. And through that lifetime of things, my family, my friends, you, and the society that you have created, that's what I want to join. I want to be part of the sharers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nora, it sounds like you definitely have had a lifetime experience. Thinking through all of the things that have happened, is there one that sticks out where it's like, wow, this was that time where like I became a knower after this particular situation?
I've been asked that a lot, because of the blessed upbringing and where I grew up and how I grew up and the lineage in my family. I guess when you talk about when do people know because of what they've been told or learned, I guess ever since I came, I'm at the tail end of a very large family of kids too, and that was another thing about this area back then, 9, 10 kids is nothing in a family out in the farm country or the wilderness area, the logging. My family were loggers. So you can imagine all the stories you've already heard about the foresters, the arborists of encounters. So you can imagine the legend, I say legends because that's what people know me. You can imagine the stories handed down in my family by the loggers that, they built the roads in Michigan. I can name exact roads that I know my grandpa and my uncles built, cut down the trees and built the roads. So the encounters and the stories and the hunting camp stories I grew up with, and we had huge hunting camps. And I know a lot of Michiganders, Wisconsin, everybody, will know of these childhood times that, the big hunting get-togethers and everybody come up to the hunting camp, and it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and everybody's out there and there's stories. And then there's the stories of the ones that aren't there anymore that get handed down. That's how I grew up. So to me, being a knower, I guess, because it's, and then experiencing my own. I can go back to a time, the first time when it was with siblings and not on my own experience where it could be questioned, so I kept it to myself. Even though I was at the tail end of others I knew did have those, but a collective sighting would be when the three of us going up the long, long driveway in a bitter cold Michigan winter to wait for the bus at the end of the driveway, very long driveway, past a pond and trees, out to this rural road in the country, a frosty morning, probably, and I'm not exaggerating, anyone back in the 70s knowing Michigan winters, probably 15 below zero. I mean, really. And we had school back then. They call it off now if it's too cold.
Right.
And we passed the pond and we passed where the trees in the forest that our house sat back into, where we had these little meadows or fields mainly for pheasant, bird hunting. We had a rye field. We geared our whole area for managing the wildlife because that was our sustenance. We get past the forest area and everything's white. Those frosted below zero mornings where every single surface is crystalline white. And our breath is white. Your nose hairs are freezing. Your breath is hanging in the air. We're getting up the road and we look across the field, and there's motion in this white frosted coverage of grass and trees with just all that frost covered whiteness, and this whiteness lump moves. And very first thing, all three of our minds, I know we didn't verbalize it, but I know mine was, and then after we talked later, was a deer was laying down and jumped up, and it had laid and got frost on its back. But as we're looking at it, it was not shaped like a deer. It didn't jump up like a deer, and it didn't jump into the tall grass. It was on the edge of a plowed field that was furrowed in the fall for winter. And then you have a break between fields of like tall grass, trees, a ditch line, drainage, and it was right at the edge of that furrowed field and that ditch line with grass and trees in it, and it popped up, so we see this frosted back and this brown light color under the frost. Automatically think it's a deer, but no, it was much bulkier. It had that frosty shimmer on it, but then when it raised up, you could see the brown, like hair, fur, whatever, down from it, and you saw these legs bent, like leaping up, and these long arms pushing off from the knuckles. Like here's what we nicknamed it: the frost gorilla.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
And what it did is I mean, how could it be sleeping in that kind of temperature? Or maybe it shut its system down. People can do that underwater in freezing cold, like slow their system down to where they can, get through that. But maybe we startled it walking up the gravel driveway. It jumped up on it. It looked like a gorilla. It did. That's why we named it that. And then it leaped up, and then it kind of just did a lunge sideways. It didn't really turn its body around. It just did a sideways lunge into the ditch tall grass and scrub. So we convinced ourselves it was a deer. And then the buzz comes, it's out of mind, right? And some years, periodically through our growing up years and the get-togethers in the hunting camps, people would bring forward their stories. It was our great fun. It was our, connecting with family members in this. And us three, we were the three youngest ones actually in this family. And it was my mom and dad's forever retirement place that we built the home on, and back, got everything set up for them to just be sustenance. And we talk about it periodically, and we coined the name Frost Gorilla, because no matter how many times we tried to say it was a deer that was laying down and got covered in frost, no matter how many times we tried to tell ourselves that, it was not. And that was the first visual encounter. But like I said before, we were raised upon the stories, legends of the family hunting cabin. Here's what happened out here. I can remember our Girl Scout and Boy Scout camp in mid-Michigan, where we actually got taken out of the camp one time. We were on a survival outing in the upper level of Girl Scouts, cadets. So we were older, like 16, 17. And we were staying in these cabin tents, with the canvas siding and the wood platforms. And it's been there forever. It's still there, that camp is. And it's on a lake. And we got taken out because of a breach in one of the cabins where we were convinced, told it was a bear. And they actually, all the counselors, everybody, there was police officers actually come out, and they helped us all go back. We gathered at a nearby church. Our parents picked us up. We were told a bear was coming in. But the ones that saw it, now I wasn't at the end of the cabin tent that actually saw it. All I knew was the eruption of screaming, everybody running towards my end of the cabin tent to get away from that end of the cabin tent. But they said they thought it was a big man reaching in to maybe accost these Girl Scouts, if you know what I mean. A predator,
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, and the arm reaching in, because these cabin tents, we were on a survival outing, so we were kind of really rustic. And these were just canvas with the tied ends and very open to the outdoors, if you can picture that.
Mm.
And then the arm reaching into the cot right there at that end. And then like they could see the head or the silhouette of it. That was, but we were told, we were convinced. And now I didn't see it, but the stories from the girls that repeated it and had nightmares and never, dropped out of Girl Scout. It was that traumatic. That was just one. There's so many. Like I said, I need to catalog and index them.
You really do. Nora, can you share what specific area like the frost gorilla happened in?
I'll tell you, it's called the exact center of lower mid-Michigan. So it's in the gateway to the north, they used to call it back then, the Clare area. So very Clare, be between Gladwin, right in the center of the lower mid.
Okay. So
Now that
oh
I
yeah.
grew up in that area, but had relatives, cabins, this and that were regular all over upper Michigan, lower Michigan. We come from Canada originally, so we also had cabin and places in Canada, in Ontario, and all the store. Oh, that's what I mean. I need to have my own channel. I write. My mother was a writer. She was a teacher. I write. My family's urged me to get all this in writing, but that's a lot of work too. But that's why I reach out to these groups. I'm not interested in really publishing all this stuff. I just want to continue my research, my sharing, the knowledge, get our heads out of the sand, form the right communities of people and knowers, because that's where we'll be, is with each other when, where I'm going with that.
Well, absolutely. It's very important, to find your community and then help others out with what you've experienced and back and forth. It's super important. Have you heard of anything over in the Manistee National Forest area?
Oh, so that's what I talk about in my interview with the
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
That's one of my recent main encounters, where it's actually what helped me get a hold of Miguel was the friend encountered this that had never had anything like that in their life ever. So it was so brand new. And to me, it was so natural. They actually had written into Dave Politis.
Wow.
And they presented that email, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And friends and family urged, you got this attention, and you want to be part of this community and part of. So it just snowballed from there, kind of, when some friends and family had sent stuff in about me, because I was kind of too shy to get out there, even though I talk in public.
Sure.
By what the job used to be and all that, and what I still continue to do now that I'm retired. Talking about those things, even though I was raised by it, I only talked about in the community of those that I was like, And even though my family was raised old Roman Catholic, which is much of that area, like our family even founded there's bishops in my family. I mean, seriously, I was raised with that upbringing, but thank goodness raised from the lineage I had in more of the First Nation belief sets, which really are in line with most religions anyway. So I was so blessed to have both sides of the coin. I had parents but we were also told, you keep it in your community, just like tribal clans do, and you have your meetings or your powwows. You keep things in there, and you keep your lineage strong and your belief set strong, but then you go and share, and you combine with those that help grow, those things and that learning and knowledge. And that's how I was raised. So most of the world, then I'm raised in this community with a Catholic church. You got to keep it quiet though, you have to keep it quiet in certain areas.
Right.
But yet I'm so blessed to be able to travel all over the United States and Canada, backwoods and Apache pop-up tent trailer and cabin tents. Yeah. And that's how my mom did her writing from and her teaching from, because she taught, history and things like that. And she taught them from going and seeing it. And, so I was really blessed about that. And now that I'm retired and I'm not working 7 days a week for something that isn't aligned with what I really want to be doing in life, now I got the time. So now I'm going to get it going.
Well, so what I would recommend is, even though it's a lot of work, take the time to get all of that down, maybe even write a book, or I don't know, up to you, right? But whatever you need to do to get it all down.
I have published books before, but they were for my profession and doing. And I actually, at the urging, like yours, thank you so much for your support. I so appreciate that. That's what, and then Miguel's, and I actually had the opportunity we'll go back to who Greg was just saying about, the BFRO.
Sure.
And I recently went to a local here where I live last year, and I went to that. And, I'm glad I went to it, because I didn't go like awestruck or celebrity struck or anything like. I went because I wanted to see who's in this community.
Exactly.
Because I want to go see this. So I got the time now. I missed all the Bigfoot when they came here to Roscommon and all that before because I was so working. And I went to it, and I'm glad I did. I met so many great people, but I was it disappointed in the fact that it was more of like a show or like I thought it was going to be like a town hall meeting like you see on the TV shows, where everybody, you raise your hand, your encounter, they map it on the map. I thought it was going to be like that. Totally not. Actually, the way it was formatted, it shut the local residents down from speaking about their experience. So nobody talked. Nobody raised their hand. So I thought, okay, that's not what this is supposed to be about. So what I decided to do right there and then is I introduced myself and befriended the woman of the Chamber of Commerce that, kind of organizes thing. And I want to organize one here locally where I live.
Okay.
So I'm in the process of doing that right now.
Good for you.
And just start with my neighbors, right? I talk about it in my interview with Miguel. I just recently moved to because of the floods and the dam failures in Michigan, and not having a home. It's all this weird coincidence. I just recently moved to a very historic, it's been on Monster Quest and all that, or not Monster, I can't remember the name of the channel that came here and did it. But it's the Bentley Howler in Bentley, Michigan. I actually now, my property is actually, it's like an eighth of a mile at the dead end road at my place here. And then I talked about all my encounters here at this new home. So I decided I'll start out with my locals. So I've been, anytime I go get my car moved on, I chat with them. They're locals. These people have been here, or their family's been here forever. I'm not afraid to bring it up anymore because I've had help from people like, Miguel, you. I'm just going to do it. There's so many of us that have had this. When you live here, and I grew up with it, I'm sure a lot of other people grew up with it. So I'm going to do, hopefully, I wanted to do it this summer. I hope to get a town hall here. It may take longer. I don't know. We'll see. But I've got a lot of feedback on YouTube from Sasquatch Theory and of Michigan people. I hope to from yours, Michigan people or near Wisconsin, Canada. Let's get together and have fun finding out all there is to know.
Absolutely. Would you be, in our last few minutes together, would you be able to maybe share one of the things that's happened to you in this Bentley Howler area?
Oh, the Bentley Howler?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I recently moved here, this is my third year here. And like I said, there was the floods, the dam failures. I'm without a home. I lived in a camper for 2.5 years. Nobody could find a home. Everybody needed a home. Anyone who knows about that history of that, and there's documentaries that so it was this really unconventional way. It was someone that overheard me in a conversation with someone else about, you can't get a home. You hear about one, you go look at it. The realtor meets you in the driveway and says it's already gone. It went on that way for 2.5 years. And anyone who knows about this area knows that's how it went. Weirdly, this person that heard me was this person that goes in and flips houses. And she ended up calling me after she got out of work and went to do her second job of flipping this house way out in this kind of really kind of secluded area out in the country from where we worked. And she called me up and she goes, Nora, these are your relatives.
Oh, wow.
Because this is my founding area where my family came into, like I said, building the roads and doing the logging and going all the way back. I have tons of history and family history. And sure enough, she told him my plight about I'm living in a camper in my ex-husband's backyard for 2.5 years. And I went over after work, started talking to them, and it was an immediate, yeah, we'll help you out. Their mother had passed away. They got this 500 acres. The boys are all splitting it up as part of the estate, but they hadn't got around to doing it. It was hard for them to do after she had passed, so on and so forth. I needed a place to stay, park the camper here, and let's work out a deal. And then they started talking. They started talking about it. My friends and coworkers that lived in the area, I worked in the area that I moved to, said, because they all know about me. They all know about my life, because I'm not, and they all know about the area. You're moving right next to where the Bentley Howler is being recorded and has been being recorded for this farm family at the end of my road has been recording them. and track for multi-generation in the area. And it's been other places have come here, and even the BFRO was out here, you know. And I said, yeah, I full well know about it. It was a high school thing. You know, like, yeah, we all knew about it. We used to drive out here, you know, the high schoolers, you know, at night and drive out here and see if we could hear howls and stuff like that. It was a thing. And I said, yeah, I'm fully well aware of it and everything. And I was just thinking, yeah, I know. But that's over there, you know, at the end of the road over on that road, you know. Duh, how stupid of me. It was really the first days and nights that everything started. And I talk about that in that interview, and like when it was almost like they were introducing themselves to me. Really, it was. The first thing I found is after the first talks with the family in the front yard about me taking it over, parking my camper here, let me do the work in the place. You guys are all elderly and it's hard, you know, to get it ready for the sale and so on and so forth. I'll just take that over and do the work and the whole thing. It was like literally while we were walking the property to say, figure out what you want surveyed out and cut your chunk out of here and we'll sell that to you. So we were doing that survey walk through the woods. There's springs here. There's a river here. It is really beautiful. Very thick, deep woods. There's berry patches, like the berry patch on my property is like a quarter of an acre large. Blueberries and raspberries, blackberries, all that, right? Very fertile. So we're walking the property, and as we get out into this one area, I get this really big pull. I work by pulls, and that's a whole nother interview. I run back and get my phone, take pictures, and I should be anyway to record what I want to survey out. I get this pull over this huge ancient oak tree. It's like it's ancient, and there's the most gigantic X out of these timbers that are like 10 inches in diameter, and it's gigantic because the limb of the oak tree that they're propped against is probably about 12 to 15 feet high. And these are like 10-inch round timbers in a giant X. And the thing that struck me, and I took the pictures of, is the root systems of these two trees were up in the air against this oak tree. One wedged in the crook of the tree, the tri-oak, one on that limb that came out from it. And the root systems were up there. And there was nothing on the ground around it that showed where like a root popped out of the ground or anything. They weren't even from that area. And then at the top of the X, there was another big branch, but no root system. It was broke off at both ends that was wedged through the Y of the top of that X, horizontal across there. Totally wedged. There's no, tree fall will wedge itself with its own weight, right? A root system on a tree can pop out of the ground if another tree falls on it with enough weight and it's rotted in the root system, it would pop it out of the ground, right? We looked for all of that. I took pictures of that, the whole thing. It was there for the longest time, and I can go on. But it was when I actually took possession and moved out of the camper after I signed off on the house, because I didn't move into it till I did. Mm-hmm. It was when I first had something, I don't know what, why, how, or where, other than I don't have normal sleep patterns. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Beautiful, starry summer night. The sky view I have here is incredible. I walked out onto my front deck. I don't know why even. I just got up, got out of bed, and walked out into the front deck. As soon as I pulled the door shut behind me, across the road from me, where it's even thicker woods, and that river drain still continues on, there was 3 huge, loud, echoing through that quiet summer night, and it was still quiet too. No frogs, no nothing. 3 huge knocks. Bam, bam, bam. Yep. And then a pause. And then bam, bam, even louder. And I had a porch light on, so I'm illuminated, and everything in front of me is dark. And I was like, holy cow. So I gathered myself, and I turned around, and I thought, okay, this isn't that new to me. And I already moved up. I turned around and took the flat of my hand and I bashed it against the siding of my house, which equally echoed through that summer loud. I did it 3 times and stopped. I didn't do a pause and 2 more. I just did it 3 times, super loud, and stood there. And then there was bam, bam, and it sounded closer, like way closer, like just across the road through my driveway. I have a long driveway, but way closer. And those 2 loud knocks, and I just got super unnerved, even though I was kind of used to it. I got unnerved, and I just went back in the house. I went back to bed and went to sleep. And then there were so many things that have happened here: rock flats, a rock being taken, things on my roof, bashes on the east side of my house, other symbol structures. The X is now gone, and the trees, those big limbs that were making that giant X, 15 feet high or whatever, are not laying on the ground. They are gone, like carried away down. I have a boulder, and I filmed this, and I have pictures of it before when it was there, after the rock flats and the chippers broke out of it. And then after, I don't know, I don't want to pre-log it, but it's this like part 2 to interviewing with Miguel. It was immediately after that aired. These things happened all in a row. I have them all documented. I was on the phone with someone when it got thrown on my roof. The next morning at daylight, I went looking for tracks, none. Something pulled me to go over to my boulder garden that was here, and my boulder, the one that had the chip out of it, is gone. And it would take a truck, a couple of people, a strap to lift that, carry that away. It is gone. And in the video I took, it just snowed lightly too, and I thought, perfect, I'll get tracks, right?
Oh yeah.
Whatever. There's no tracks, but you can see the snow line that had built up around that boulder when it was sitting there, so I knew it went missing that.
Wow.
And I have witnesses to all this too. I have so many witnesses, and that's what they all urged me. They're the witnesses, and the ones that have experienced it are the ones, family, friends, that urged me, get out there and share this stuff. Because, you're not nuts, because we're seeing this. We know that you couldn't lift that boulder and like sneak it away and hide and then tell us it's missing. There's no way little old you, I'm not big, could move that boulder. There's no way. And I did. And on the video I yelled out across the road to that woods across me. I said, "Where's my rock? Who took my rock?" And at that time, there was a witness standing at my deck that just arrived there, and he's trying to figure out. He was coming out there to hunt, actually. I let people hunt here. And he had come out to hunt, and he saw me distressed in the front yard with my phone videotaping. And then when I got done saying, "Where's my rock?" he was standing there waiting for me to get done. And as soon as I turned to walk towards them, 2 huge knocks across the road, and he flipped out. He did. He flipped out. He's like, "Holy cow, what is going on?"
They're just watching.
And he had experienced, I have chimpanzee chatter, bark like roofs that are super loud and deep and guttural, but this is common in this area.
Wait,
so when
hold on. Wait, sorry. So you are experiencing chimp-like chatter and whoops in your area?
Oh, yeah. I had it on my phone. I told Miguel, I wish I had good equipment. When I was in the, lost everything in the floods, I lost everything. I lost all my gear, my cameras, I salvaged, I got ready and prepared because I was actually part of the preparation and rescue team in my local village I lived in. So I had a lot of stuff already taken out and taken over to my ex's house. But then there was a lot of things I still lost that just at that moment weren't that important to me. We didn't have that much time to evacuate.
Right.
And so I lost a lot of things and had to rebuild it. So I don't have the recording equipment I used to have. I'm just rebuilding it now. I have it recorded on my phone of this oh my God. It's a conversation across the road from me.
Wow.
It's a lower, rumbly, like, and I'm not good at it, but I'm just trying to give you the context of then probably about 10, 15 feet beside it. And I feel like it was right in the ditch line. Now I do have a, 400 and some foot driveway, but I feel it was like in the ditch line across the road from me. And then 10, 15 feet beside it from it is it was so weird. I was like, there's these sandhill cranes that will nest over there in this little meadow area in the woods.
Okay.
But that's not that sound. They make a different sound.
Right.
And then I was hearing farther back, way back by a tree line across the field from this ditch line where I heard that sound. I heard like a really loud, like, I don't know, it was like a dog bark or like a, like almost like it was an adult telling them knock it off or get it. And I've heard it more than one time, but I did get that on my phone, recording it, because I started recording it when I started hearing the chimpanzee chatter, and then I got the roof in there. I took it to a friend's house I put my phone to it, and they could amplify it a little bit, and they were flabbergasted.
Wow. So you do have the recording right now of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. And I was just messing around. I just set up a new computer where I'm at now and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have good equipment. I'm working on it. But I mean, I have friends. They just come out here and sit and have a campfire with me.
Yeah.
We're not talking about anything and it is not just Sasquatch or it related. The sky activity that goes on that is so well seen here and also a part of my life, all my life.
Wow.
It like I said, I do. Like you said, write a book. That's what everybody says.
Nora, it sounds incredible. You've got wild stuff going on right now, and that
I know.
Awesome. I love it.
And yeah, it's awesome. But I'll start out little with a town hall meeting and hooking up with people like you and everybody that subscribes to you, and feel free to reach out to me. And
please.
I'm retired now.
Please continue. Don't be afraid to keep me up to date with what's going on. And if you get to the point where you can send some audio files, I would love to hear, what you're capturing. Maybe even start a YouTube channel and just start documenting it.
I have 6 subscribers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just don't.
Cool.
I don't know how to do that stuff. I need someone to help me with it all. But I actually just started putting together folders of different things.
Okay.
Because if anyone wants to go out and listen to that Michigan Encounters with me with Miguel, I talk about things other than Sasquatch that I do have photos of as well.
Wow. Okay.
Related to Sasquatch, but other magic. Yeah, and I have clear photos that have blown people away. Unique trees I posted on.
Wow, that's awesome. Please, reach out to me. I'd love to see your channel if you want to share that with me, just so I can. It'd be hard to find it, but if you can share the link to it, it's BigfootSociety@gmail.com. You can email me, and thank you, Nora, for chatting, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up sometime in the future as well.
Yeah, we will. Super, and thank you, and I hope for happy meeting everybody on your group, and I will send you some great stuff. You'll have fun with it.
Absolutely, great chatting with you, Nora. You have a great night.
You too. Good night.
Whew. There's some good calls tonight. We got one more. Should we call the last person back? Someone in the chat, let me know. Are you guys up for me to call one more person back? I gotta see someone say yep. If I can see someone say yep in the chat, then I'll call them back. All right, AO, you asked for it. Okay, so let me get the number. Oh, I hope this person isn't asleep. I guess we'll find out. We might get yelled at. I hope you're ready to get yelled at. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, this is Jeremiah from Bigfoot Society calling you back. Sorry it's late.
Sure.
I just want to double check. So you're aware this is recorded for the podcast and live, and were you able to fill out the guest release thing?
Yeah, Jeremiah was on the show earlier.
Oh, Greg. I was like, this guy sounds just like Greg. Did you call me back? Oh, you must have
Yeah, no,
called
I
two
didn't. I
different
just heard
times.
my phone. Yeah, it might have been because when we were playing phone tag, I don't know, maybe something happened there because I never hung up. I just switched the call over. Maybe
Hey,
it
that's
called
all
you.
right.
I
That's
don't
all
know.
right, man.
That's funny. Hey, listen, I'll have one of my buddies from New Jersey Pine, Barron's BFRO, call you back. His name's Eric Spinner, if you look him up. Great guy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're doing a Paracon. They got Nick Pope coming.
Oh, wow.
Esteban's coming at something later. And what's his name? Ronnie LeBlanc as well. And Bill Burns from UFO Hunters. So,
What's the name of that?
Well, it's called the Bucks County Paracon.
Oh, okay.
And it's the first one. And then there's that's on March 9th outside of
wow.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another one in June where Esteban's coming, Ronnie LeBlanc, Ron Moorhead, and that's coming to New Jersey, closer to where I live. Anyway, I'm in a Walmart right now. I got to check out, but I'll email you about it, okay?
Yeah,
Thanks,
you.
Jeremiah.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good one.
You bet.
All right. Well, that was the same person. It was Greg. It was good to talk to Greg again. But guys, we've had a great night. We've got almost 80 people live. This is the most people I've had live for these Bigfoot encounters live. I'll be editing this out and putting it up on the podcast. People in the chat, would you like me to do this again in the future where I take Bigfoot encounters live? Let me know real quick. Just kind of curious if this is a yes or a no type deal. But man, that was fun hearing Greg's encounter of the giant hairy arm reaching into the tent, and Nora with the frost gorilla of Michigan and the Bentley, Michigan things that are happening at her residence. Okay, we got plenty of yeses. AO, yes. Mark, yes. Gene, yes. Curious One, yes. Planet X, good to see you, yes. Chris Mitchell, yeah. Chris, please reach out. I saw your comments earlier. I'd still love to talk to you. Hollis, yes. Okay, everyone's saying yes. No nos. We're getting a lot of yeses. So I am going to go ahead and shut this down. It's about 10 o'clock Central, but guys, make sure that you are, if I could talk for a minute, make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of these. It's not going to be, on a certain night. It's every once in a while I'll do these. Make sure you're subscribed on the major podcast platforms on YouTube. I do have a Patreon where you can listen to members only episodes. You can also hear the episodes here on the YouTube channel if you join the Bigfoot Posse tier. It's a $3 one. All right, we got Planet X giving over $2 fun show. I appreciate that. That goes to helping the podcast go to the moon, to go full time. So I really appreciate that, brother. But yeah, with time to head out. Mark, see you, Jeremiah, see you, AO. Good night, everyone. Appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you spending your night with me, and I hope to see you guys soon. Maybe we'll see you in a few nights. Who knows? But have a good one all, and we'll see you next time.